Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to our Readitation Poetry Zoom gathering. And today our topic, our thread is Beyond Gravity, Beyond Gravity. So I'd like to start out with just saying that what we'd like to do today is I'll do a little bit of a journey for us beyond gravity. And then Ron is going to just speak, open the space. He's going to reveal the space. And he's going to reveal the space and about gravity. And then we'll all come in and bring in our amazing insights from that space and some poetry and just let's see if we can lift off. Okay, so all right, so first of all, I did want to read this little poem here from Rumi. We are the night ocean filled with glints of light. We are the space between the fish and the moon while we sit here together. While we sit here together. So, and that is the point. We're sitting here together. We seem to be sitting here together. We're sitting somewhere. We appear to be sitting somewhere together. And so I read this small question that Rupert Spira put out one time, and I took this little trip that I thought was very, very wonderful. And so I'm going to start off what I just want to thank, Rupert Spira for everything that he brings. And so I just want to start out with what he said, and then let's see where this can go, okay? So the thing that Rupert Spira asked us to do, oh, Christina got out, hold on. Christina. Christina? Did you get lost in space? You're muted, but everybody can be muted for this. Okay.
Did you guys all drop?
No. Okay.
It was me.
Okay. So let's mute yourselves for now. So Christina, we're taking a little trip in gratitude to Rupert Spira, who actually, I was reading this in Readitation. So he said very often when he asked people to look around where they are, like look around where they are in their room and tell him what they see. So why don't we all look around in our room and just see, what do we see? Take a look, just very carefully in this room and look around at what we see. Okay, and then he asked the question, did you include space? Did you include space? Well, when I read that, I was contemplating, and close your eyes now. I was contemplating, and I had this kind of experience where I was looking at the space in the room. Except now, as we're looking at the space in the room, feeling with our eyes closed, imagine you're on the first floor, on the ground floor, in a home, and all the walls disappear. All those walls just fall off. The walls are going off. And now we're standing on grass. We're standing on grass in the yard, or perhaps you're standing in a city on the pavement, but you're just standing there. All the house has fallen off. And then all of a sudden you see all the buildings that you can see in your sight all disappear. Everything is disappearing. It's like falling off, going away. And then as far as the eye or you can even see, all the mountains on the earth, all the oceans are disappearing. You're just there. You're fine. Nothing is happening to you. You're not afraid. Just everything is disappearing, but you feel okay. It's okay. And suddenly, the earth disappears under your feet. And now, you're in space with all the planets and the moon and the sun. You're just there and you're okay. You're okay. You're fine. You are fine. You are feeling wonderful. It feels good. It's open. And then the planets disappear. All the planets and the stars, and the galaxies, gone. And you're still there. And you feel fine. You feel just good. You're like in something so weightless, so beautiful. And then your body disappears. Your body is gone. But you are there. You are there. You are fine. Nothing happened. You are there. You are space. You are space. So open your eyes. So I'm going to turn this over to Captain Ron.
Thank you. That was a wonderful experience and the shock of opening my eyes. Yeah, not so simple. I was thinking of this very wonderful, simple line from the Upanishads. Emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. So one of the experiences I've had about space and gravity is that, like Rupert Spire's experiment, I don't often think of space as other than emptiness. In other words, I don't fill space with anything. I don't imagine it to be the plenum that all these teachers are talking about, the fullness. I've left it empty. And yet, if you look at all the great traditions, they agree on one thing about space and, by extension, a gravity-free quality, filling space. And that is love. Love. The great teacher Alma said, the first particularization of the absolute. That's a hell of a word. Particularization of the absolute is love. And so I'd like to read a poem, short poem, about love, the content of space, the gravity-less quality that fills space. It's not my realization. Many, many great traditions agree on that point. So let's see. The poem is entitled, and you may have heard it previously. I love it so much. Simple question number 2. Could you consider or even imagine a universe so elegant in its most minuscule manifestation, so in your face beautiful wherever you stare, with truth for the taking, by the educated reaching, with truth for the taking, by the educated reaching, in the wildest excursion of your unfettered speculation, could such a universe ever be without love?
Okay, thank you, Ron. Thank you. That's one of my favorite poems, I have to say, of all time. Really. So let's see. I think we'd like to start this off where we are now with space, because gravity, gravity, pulling us in a way, keeping us down safely, in a way, keeping us perhaps limited. And, human beings are just, what we really are is completely unlimited. So that could never, ever, I don't think that could ever happen, that we as a species would consider ourselves limited. That's just not a possibility in my perception. So let's just think about this quality that is gravity-less, that weightlessness that we all long for, I think, one way or another. And I'd like to talk later on, perhaps, definitely about the thought fields and the things that really, and how we get out of those. How do we share how we help ourselves get out of those really heavy situations, which are everywhere now. So, it's not an airy-fairy consideration. It's something very, very real, what we're talking about beyond gravity. It's the realest thing there is. So I open and invite you to contribute contributions within 2 minutes, and the poem would be great. Poetry contribution, anything, actually, the whole space soundings, I think, are all poetic. What would we speak like if we were in space without our body? What would we be saying? Okay, please just raise your hand, call on you, and you can unmute yourself. Anne-Marie, is that?
When we traveled in the space, in that vision, what came to mind was this mantra that I just recently read and memorized from Thich Nhat Hanh. I have arrived, I'm home, in the here and in the now. I am solid, I am free. In the ultimate, I dwell. So while I was envisioning having the oceans and the mountains recede and flying, I have arrived. I am home, came to my mind, and I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Robert.
You know, when you sent the invitation Beyond Gravity, I went back and looked at, I'm pulling together old poems for a book. And I realized, and it sort of, I became enlightened even towards my own work, how so much the play of lightness and gravity plays in my poetry that I never quite realized before. So I'm just going to share a poem from 20 odd years ago. I won't even tell you the title yet, and I time myself, it's under a minute. Bright figures waiting, circling his head, can see right through them at the play of light and shadow at their center. The case for the opposition, a dark figure staring out. Electric words turning into light, falling on the ground. Its massive bulk flat against the plastic and glass. Two chairs behind it looking like wings, not for flying, but the disturbing of air and light, stopping them from flowing as it settles stale against the walls, floor, and ceiling. The case for the defense, living memory made up at each moment, as each moment passes, becoming history lessons to be placed against the wall and shot. Bright figures still circling around his head, reaching out to the crown or a shoulder, waiting to land. Now, here comes the title, The Trial of William Jefferson Clinton. And sort of, I understand my poem now, because in every event, even in the most horrific events, even in the most lovely events, there's always that play of light and heaviness, grounded and uplifting. There's always that space. There's always room for light in all events, in everything. And we're constantly at play in them. And I don't mean play in a, in a way of sort of dismissing something serious, something being extremely serious, but there's always a sense of play and light in everything. There's always an opportunity to go beyond gravity. And so this is a wonderful topic. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Robert. That was amazing. And let's come back to it. Let's bring it back again and again, because it just, and I love your delivery of it. It has so much light in it. There's nothing grave about that for me. Okay.
Craig. Victoria, Craig has his hand up.
How come I'm not seeing Craig? I'm not even seeing you, Craig. Craig.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you said, actually, when you were talking about the relationship to space and gravity, I normally would think of like being weightless as a very physical thing, which obviously it can be, and it is. But then I was just thinking about the relationship to space and gravity as it relates to physical structures. Like I live in New York City, and it appears that every space is taken up, right? And there is some safety, at least for me, people that like living in cities, there's a sense that gravity is grounded here, right? With all the physical structures. And I've noticed that when I go to places where that's not the case, when I've traveled out west and you go across the country and you see these wide open spaces, or when I go to the ocean, there really is a sense of, I don't know if I would call it weightlessness, but the relationship to space as opposed to my physical body. My physical body feels very small in relationship to this huge space. And it does actually change my sense of gravity a little bit. At first, it can be a little bit, what's the word? It can be a little bit overwhelming. But then when I sink into it, I actually love it. I feel like my breath becomes much bigger. And it kind of, it like I can breathe as part of the space. So that just popped up in my mind when you were talking about space in relation to gravity. And one of the last thing I'll say I thought was interesting, I was listening to a podcast, and a guy on the podcast said he had moved to a place, he was in Los Angeles, he moved to a place somewhere in the Midwest where they have these huge plains, and his eyesight improved. And he had a neurobiologist on, or neuroscientist, somebody who studies the brain. And he said that he believed that because the reason why his eyesight improved potentially is because his relationship to space, he was viewing at a distance everything, the horizon, the buildings, everything, as opposed to close up. And I thought of like that's a symbol, like, right? If you think of your eyesight, the sense of sight of the eye improves when you have this vast space as opposed to everything being close up, and in relation to my own thought fields.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, amazing. There's such simple clues around and we don't even see.
Yeah.
What an interesting observation. Yeah. Christina.
Okay, I think I just unmuted myself. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't really, relative to what Craig just said, I don't know what the terminology is, farsighted or nearsighted. I don't remember which is which, but I thought of far-sighted when he was speaking, that, it's even in our language, because that could have so many meanings. We ascribe it a specific meaning, but it could mean a lot more. And I wanted to share something that I read from, of all people,
You're freezing.
Jacques. I'm sorry.
You're freezing. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Jacques Cousteau. He's the underwater explorer. And I thought it was quite interesting that I read something that said, I'll read it here because I have it up. From birth, oops, yikes, what did I do? Okay. From birth, man carries the weight of gravity on his shoulders. He is bolted to earth, but man has only to sink beneath the surface and he is free. I thought that was very interesting. Again, the words could be understood in so many levels. He's obviously talking about, well, maybe not so obviously, but at the first read, you think, okay, underwater, under the surface, you have that simulation of a zero gravity atmosphere. You're floating. I thought that was so interesting because as above, so below. Experienced in the water, as well as like, Jeff Bezos recently went up there and they experienced non-gravity, and yet it could be experienced here on Earth physically and metaphysically.
I love all this that's happening here. It's really making me spacey. Ron.
Just very short to add to that, what was just being said. Some of you may remember Rudolf Steiner said, if you, as you walk through your day, were aware of your weight that you're carrying around, you would be exhausted. You could not even live your life. Because what we're really walking around as, without realizing it, is awareness.
Yeah, and I always think about how those little feet carry all that. Those 2 feet, I mean, who could engineer that? I mean, how did that happen? What is that about? Okay, Wendy, would you like to come in? Say hello? Come in from space?
Sure. Spacing. I have my little triangles back there that I hang off of my bookcase. It's called Yield to the Field. And one of the interesting things in that exercise, it was one thing I did at Agape with Michael Beckwith in a group. We looked at, literally, we did a space thing around this. Like, what is the space in which we reside? And then what's the best way to hold the space while we be and do whatever we do? So it's a practice of the integrity of the grounding, of the centering of each person in the group, and then the capacity, like this group. It's like amazing at the top of this, Victoria, you were, all the IT things, getting Ron in, and it was, but the amazing thing is when you all come to this space, the readitators, we just sit. There's no stir, and it was so great. When Victoria got up, you like literally walked out of your space hole. It was great in the back of you going to get Ron. And it was like, how cool is that? I had it happened, a childhood dream has been with me all my life. And it's this idea that we're in space, like I'm in space, there's no bodies. So it's all whatever I perceive in that space is energetic, but I see different forms, like probably other people, or I don't know, energetic forms going to their destination, and I'm just one of them. But the experience is, it's so free, there's no judgment about the direction someone's going or not. And there's an implicit trust that, like you kept saying, I am fine, right? You kept saying in the meditation was kind of the guided piece was, and you're fine. And I know that place. I've known that place for a long time. My question has been challenging after living 66 years in this body on gravity's base is what does it mean in the concrete realm of physicality to live that I experienced in the dream with others? Like, how do I provide space for the whole? Because it's very clear to me that even though I am it, I am a part of it, and so are all you. And that, the multiplicity in the one is just a fascinating principle. And the idea that everyone has the all. Or one is the all. So it's a concept that is really challenging to ground for many people until they're at a pretty high level of understanding, awareness. And I think, Ron, you say about being aware of awareness, and that you walk in awareness in the form. So that's the deal. I think, and you said it was love, Ron. So it's like, okay, love in this form. How do I love in this form? And with all the others that are around me that also have this one. Many have not acknowledged perhaps it yet, but I think we're talking about a pretty high level concept here to grasp. And anyway, those are my sharings. No poem today, but just life phenomenological reporting.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I love your hair and your eyes. So sorry, that was really good. Yeah, well, one thing, when I had that experience after Rupert Spiro's question, and I've gone back to it, just that kind of journey, and like, I think also like, when we're there and we're space, with that space, what I wanted to do is recreate everything. Like I was going to go, well, let me see. Like I'm space, so what can I do? I want to create, I think I'll create a turquoise moon and a yellow earth and a billion chartreuse stars, and I kind of could see it all coming back. Like, say we went back, we're the space. Space is we're nothing, no thing. We're nothing. We're no thing. We're nowhere. We're now here, and we're no thing. So we're not a thing, and we're now here, obviously, and it's fine. But I just thought, okay, now why can't we go backwards? Why can't I go backwards and create everything? I thought this would be better than doodling. This is like really cosmic doodling. Really, that's what God does. Just create it all back. So that was one thing I wanted to do. I haven't started that. It'll probably take more than 7 days. I don't. Okay, Jordan, where is Jordan?
Just to add to that question of spaciousness and and how to experience more of that. I was thinking of the quality of creativity and how that can open up channels of space. Because that seems to me that there's a lot of quality of spaciousness in creativity. Like you can open up beyond the mind. You can kind of lower your density factor. So I think that's when I look at my experience, I want that more of that creative opportunity to exist, for sure.
Absolutely, creativity and space. That's why I say, to me, it's like all creation. We are creation. I mean, you know, this earth is just, I don't know. I mean, what happened here? How did all, you know, as Isaac Newton said, you know, he said something about gravity is a certain thing. He said, is something that keeps all the planets attracted to each other and in motion. He said, but who set it off? That's a question here. Yes, Anne-Marie.
When Jordan said density factor, I was really struck by that, the density factor that is a universal force of gravity that stops us, right? Dense. And when I think of dense, it's the opposite of creativity. And the creativity is our flow, is our divinity, and yet we've got this natural organic force in the universe that is equal and opposite of what we're doing. And there is a density factor that we can get caught in, and that's one of the things of wonder about this readitation experience, is an opportunity to see the density factor, because how can we escape unless we've recognized its existence?
Exactly. Yes. Craig.
Yeah, the word density was, when that was used, it was in relation to all that. It's I think it's a good description. It's like we were talking about thought fields before. When we were talking about, you were telling me about this meeting, it hit me that thoughts don't appear to have any weight, right? They're just thoughts. Or do they? Thought fields, I guess, what gives a thought field weight? It must be my belief system, whatever a belief system is. Like, when you said that, or when we were talking about that, it made me understand a little more that the physical body, the physical mechanism is the apparatus to understand belief systems, right? Like, I feel more weightless now with this conversation because I'm relating to different thought fields. But usually I'm sitting here through my day and, oh my God, is that deal going to go through? Is it, what's going to happen? I'm hungry, whatever. Is Bitcoin going to go to 100,000? All these thought fields are creating a lot of density that creates weight and it grounds in the wrong way. It grounds it too much into something that can't have any type of creative release.
Oh boy, yes. I mean, there's a lot in that. Yes, Ron.
It's time for a poem. Going right back to Craig's comment, I've always felt that thoughts do have weight. And being a scientist, my evidence for it is that when I'm flying at 35,000 feet, my thoughts seem to be much lighter. I find myself to be much more creative at heights. So let me read the confirmation or a summary of that experience. Here we I'm absolutely convinced that thoughts have weight, very subtle, but the higher we rise, like if we're out of gravity field, our thoughts are really become ions. They're free to travel. This poem, short poem, is called High Creativity. Our thoughts, impatient ions, just wait to break free from the gravitas of Earth. And now, at heights enlightened, take off to dance, free now to follow a divine choreography.
Beautiful. Robert, your poem. Yes, I was calling on you. Go back. Yeah, Robert.
Well, the thought that came to me is thoughts, we do give weight to thoughts. Thoughts have a weight. We trying to the right choice of words here. We build our thoughts as stories we tell ourselves. I think neurologists have, neurologists are learning that more and more. The thoughts we have, we give weight. Our brain creates meaning. That creates the weight of the thoughts, which can weigh us down, could not weigh us down. So much in meditation is letting go of those thoughts, to give the thoughts no substance, allowing them to become weightless, to just float away. Because I know from the social science literature, which is my grounding, we believe certain things are possible or not possible because of what's happened before. But that's just thoughts. That's just giving meaning and weight to thoughts. When we can abandon those thoughts, or not abandon, just let go of them. Not even, that's where the weightlessness, I think, can also come into play. Truly freeing ourselves from thoughts and just letting ourselves be light.
Well, this is perfect because I thought we should make a transition a little bit to gravity, because we've been talking about space and gravity. But gravity, I guess, see if I'm right, Ron, but the further away an object gets from the pull of gravity, the less that gravity has an impact on it. In other words, the further away we go, the less, it's not like gravity gets stronger. The further away we go from gravity, the less strong is that pull. So I was thinking about, let's talk a little bit about the thoughts. Let's talk about gravity as, the word gravity has the word grave in it. I mean, you know, and somebody said here, locked or chained, I was thinking, chained to gravity, and I feel like that. And I'm glad because I float off the earth, I guess, into space. You know, I would have agoraphobia. We think agoraphobia is normal. Like we should all be worried if there's, how come I'm not, because, you know, we're not going into space. We already are in space. We are always in space. We're not going into space. We're just we're going out of our backyard. You know, like that's how I think of it. Kenneth Mills explicated that when he said that, you know, that Earth is our backyard. It's like when you're a child and when he says you're in the backyard, you're in a crib, and then you go in the street, then you find out there's a city, then you find out there's a country, and then you find out there's a whole planet you're on. Well, he said, our planet is our backyard. It's our crib. We haven't gotten out of the crib yet, but we're on our way because we already went into airplanes. And now, you know what's happening in the space thing. So we are going there. And an analogy in terms of our being, in terms of our mind, our body and our thoughts, our feelings, our body, which is going to be, it's going to go into the grave in the ground, unless I want to have my ashes taken out into space. But it will get very, I thought it would get very dirty there, you know, those ashes, you know, I don't know. Anyway, but so our thoughts. So the question is, what happens, that we can move away from those thoughts? But gravity is there, thoughts are there. So they're working very hard. Look, like they have to train to get beyond gravity. It takes, I don't know how many billions of dollars. It takes brilliant minds. It takes exploration and fear and, oh God. So our thoughts are also let's see that as a form of gravity, because they're very grave and serious and heavy most of the time. We're not talking about the light-bearing thoughts, we're talking about the average mind in its now paranoid situation on Earth. So it seems like we need to somehow create that space or lift off or whatever way. Everybody has their way, and I'd love to share. Love to share. How do we, because it's our life we're talking about. Otherwise, we're stuck in the grave. We're going to the grave. Everybody on here.
Christina.
Okay, Christina. I don't understand why I'm not getting everybody in the gallery, because, let me put a gallery view, because I should be getting everyone.
Unmute, Christina.
Sorry. I'm having a little bit of connectivity issues. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but
You're very far
go
out.
ahead. Very far out. Oh, yeah. God, some of these thoughts are, they're so oppressive, they really rule everything, our actions, well, at least my actions. But I just recently had an experience that was very uplifting relative to the sense of gravity I had been experiencing, which was financial. The weight of a financial concern is, there were times when I felt I couldn't breathe. Now, granted, it wasn't just, a couple of thousand on my credit card or whatever. It had to do with a business that I had started, which required a lot of money, and I invested a lot. Unfortunately, didn't go the way I had hoped or planned. Some things just don't. And it was a substantial amount, very substantial. The level of anxiety, the level of heavy thinking that I will never get out from under this, or it's going to take me so long to get out from under this, was really debilitating. That's how I feel. That's how sometimes these thoughts that are so weighted, so grave, really do. I don't know. Maybe they can, deteriorate the physical body to such a degree from the level of stress. It's possible. But I had a turnaround. I recently sold my condo. I was able to pay off everything. And the sense of lightness that I feel relative to that issue, because there are other issues in my life that are, still very grave, but relative to that one issue, the difference is night and day, truly night and day. I feel like I can breathe again. I feel like I have been lifted out from all of this, and I have been lifted out from under this financial weight that was absolutely oppressive. And so these thought fields, these situations in our lives, they really are very grave. They are. Some of them are very, very intense, very serious, and debilitating, and affect so many other things, because I feel like I am able to see things very differently. My other situations, which were so much more grave because of this other scenario. So, yeah. Very intense stuff.
Yeah, gravity, heavy, to the grave, serious. That's the basis of it. That seems, it's okay to have some space. We can have space in this conversation. I'm just seeing, I feel like I'm not seeing everyone. Okay. So actually notice, when we start talking about that, it's okay like to feel this is like a great place to explore. Ron,
Just to relate to the previous contribution, we noticed this in group work a long time ago, that heavy inputs or light inputs influence the weight of the conversation. They're a very real thing. So if we talk about heavy things, we actually feel the heaviness. We share the heaviness. We share the lightness. These are very real, non-gravitational forces that affect all of us together. So I just felt Christina's contribution. I felt her journey. I felt the heaviness of it. It affected me. Where did it affect me? Somewhere in my heart area, in this section. And then the lightness that she felt also. When we talk about gravity, we talk about grave, death, we talk about life, we talk about light. All of these things carry their own frequencies and they affect us. So yeah, we are one. We are responsive as one.
now, in my past, in my past, and even now, everything like says, "Oh, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Come on. This is not fun. This is bad. This is painful. Let's get out of here." And I think especially in a group, it's wonderful to go there. Let's get as great as we can be. Like just to go there. In the past, we didn't do a lot of that because we were into transcending and going beyond and finding another place and just anything but staying here. Anything but staying here. But in all my readings and what I've been being taught by meditation in my life is, just the absolute desire to stay there. In fact, it's beautiful when somebody brings something. It's so beautiful to have somebody bring pain and a grave situation because you can enter into with them and you can experience it as an outsider, by the way. You're not in the actual situation, the person is more affected. But just stay with that. And I know that's the only place that I can kind of go with that now. So I mean, I'm really glad to stay and talk and just feel that. And the minute Christina starts speaking, I mean, it's incredible. We all went like, I just went there. Such a gift. Okay, Anne-Marie and then Craig.
What had come to my mind about the heaviness of thoughts and versus the lightness is that so much of our world, it almost rewards heaviness, right? I mean, we're just in this fury of race of technology and relative importance, that there's such a heaviness between or heaviness with expectations of life. But then when we can venture into these readings, we're introduced to the thought of play, and someone had mentioned playing, and suddenly we just become light, and we can feel the lightness when we think of transforming some job or project, and just with our thoughts, think about it as playing, and how we can just transform from density to light with the way we're interpreting the same task that we would be otherwise doing. But there's such a resistance. It's like there's almost a comfort in the agony and in the density, and there's an appearance of an effort to be made to have our being light, and the resistance from the world of, oh, she's so naive. She can't really be real because she's smiling too much. She's too happy. She's playing. She's not a grown-up. She's not real. So we step out into these worlds through the regulation of density and lightness of our thoughts.
Yeah, be real. Everything is awful. Craig,
Yeah, I think that's true. I think somebody that smiles too much is too happy. No one trusts them. Going back to what we were talking about too, in relation to that, I think that's really the value that I've seen in my life when you work together with people in a group setting, and if we don't want to use a group setting, in a team setting and whatever, that there's this, that, something that is super intense to me because it's isolated in my internal world becomes a shared experience that can be supported. That's really the definition of support, and carried, if we can even use that term, because certainly like any of the big topics of which death, health, relationship, finances are the big ones, right? It was interesting too, like going back to the word financial freedom. It's even in language, and debt. Like I think of like my dad is going through something physical and he's constantly reminded on a daily basis, and he reminds me of the physical problems, and I can understand why, because he's in pain on a daily basis. I've gone through financial troubles, and it's in the moment, nothing is actually happening. Actually, I'm still eating, I'm still in my apartment, but there's this constant weight of something that's looming in the future, which could happen, it could not happen, but but any type of, I think any type of pain like that, I don't know what I was going to, there's something I was going to, there's some other word I was going to look for, but yeah, I'm happy it was brought up because it does remind me that our experience is a shared experience, and we can actually help each other, because that's helpful to me when someone goes through that.
yeah, and maybe we can call on Wendy. Whenever I talk about pain, I have to stop. I go like, I mean, we should be really talking about suffering more than pain. Like physical pain, that's when somebody's going through physical pain, chronic physical pain. Now, I've never been through that, so I don't know. But that was a big, big question in my mind. Big question. That's when I have a problem with a God. I have a problem with God anyway, but but I really have a problem with intelligent universe. What is going on here? Anyway, so there's that level of it. I don't know. Wendy, did you want to say something about this? Or?
Sure.
And then Robert.
Wow, I live with pain every day, and thank God sometimes there are better than others in the body, and I'm very clear that the body's experiencing it. The good thing about being in this meditation group and other support groups that I have that are integral based and so forth, is that people get it. That there's the experience of the body and what the body's feeling. And then there's the I, whatever the actually we, because there is no I, but the we that I'm a part of is greater than that pain. And it is the lightness of allowing and being able to go to spaces that are open and fluid and free. And it's much better for me. My pain not as great if I'm around people that are lighter and not heavy. But if I add to my pain by getting stuck in the story about the pain and what's going, I get more dense, I get more gravity, I get, and I can allow the pain to just disappear me. In fact, they say neurologically that when you have the kind of neuralgias I have 4 now, I've got a new one added to the bunch this last episode for 5 weeks. And I guess I'm on a mission to look at pain, because pain tells you things that's very good. If you didn't have pain, like if I was a leper, I wouldn't feel the pain and then I would know how to help myself. So there's something about the pain being the gift of it, that it is directing us. But I think it is very, very much about what we've been talking about, is the darkness. And energetically, and interesting, we're getting to this place where neurobiology and looking at neuron and neuronal connections and so forth. And, if there's an I left in me, I want to keep my brain. I want to keep my sense about me so I can still be with you all and do things. And the cool thing is you can. And I have one of actually, if you look it up, trigeminal neuralgia is listed as its subtitle. It's called the suicide disease. Most people don't live with this pain well. And it certainly has made me crazy at times. I mean, it has taken me out of this space that I really am. And the body can take up a lot of space, huge weight. If, again, and it's going to take the weight it takes, is what I've learned. And rather than resisting that, learning how to be with pain and know the space while the body's in it. It's peculiar to most people how I can manage to stay in this we space, which is what I want to be in, and it's where I want to continue to learn and grow and be better at that. And actually the writing, which I'm so glad, it looks like I'm going to be able to get back to it. It needs to come from this space, from this lighting, from that, not from the stuff or the stage of life. It needs to come from the balcony. I use the term stage and balcony to say the difference between heaviness and light. And so for me, it's the art of how do I stay on the balcony with this life experience? Because that's who I really am. Is the balcony. The balcony is directing the stage. If I allow myself to stay in the stage and just get ground in the pain and get pissed off about the horrible medical system that I have to traverse to know health in this or be in this body, I'm grateful for them as well. And that's not who I am. So it's all that at the same time. And I'm gonna tell you, don't get me wrong. There's days I am not a friendly person. Ask my wife, she'll bark. I bark when the pain is really, really bad in the body. But we're even learning that barking is okay. And just bark and just be with that. And if I can allow barkness, okay, trees, I can think of lighter things than the gravity of the pain when it occurs. So my experience.
Wendy, thank you for that. Thank you. I'm glad we recorded that. Really, that was so beautiful.
Well, I also want to say, so many as we age, or the longer we're embodied in these bodies, and the longer we are, the body does, it has its way of giving way. Yeah. In whatever it does, and I'm so glad I've worked so much in the field of death and caring for people that are dying, and it's there, and that's the fascinating thing of people dying. It's like, wow, they are in two worlds, and we're actually in both worlds before we go. And where people are describing they're going is what we're talking about.
Mhm, mhm.
That's it. The no space, the no gravity, the no whatever, and then they have to live in gravity, right? So, and if you have chronic pain or chronic living conditions, which we now 50% of Americans have a chronic issue, or they're caring for someone who has one. And so how do we be this light with this knowledge, and how do we pass? I really want to die consciously. I want to die, and I want it to be a definitive, I'm moving through that experience, and but like we're saying here, we can have that experience now. I don't have to wait till then. And the idea that you do kept me a lot in my life of not going where we talk about here. I mean, the field, and and Ron and Victoria were a real huge part of me. I'm so glad you all came to the center before the pain hit me. That's, your perspective and the Vistar process and all that just really helped me stay, it's grasp of sanity for me. So I appreciate you all, and I appreciate this readitation. Thank you.
That was a beautiful, beautiful explanation, a beautiful, not explanation, but just insight into principle about that. We could go on with that. I would like to talk about that for about 3 hours. But Robert, did you raise your hand next? Yes, Robert, and then Christina.
This conversation brings me back to what so many of my teachers have said. So many of the teachings of the distinction between pain and suffering. One yoga teacher I studied with for many years loved to say, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. I mean, but suffering, I would agree to that only to a point. Suffering is there. It's it's ability to recognize the distinction between the pain and the suffering. And we could allow the suffering because it's there. We don't want to deny it. And I'm afraid at times when teachers have said suffering is optional, we put value. Suffering, it's going to happen. But it's the recognition, the acknowledgement, because I've had that experience as well, where that recognition allows it to you can experience it and then let it go. And it's within that space that, again, we're talking about going back to space. It's in that space where everything happens. Creativity happens. Really life happens in that space. So it's that space, it's that in-between space where we really exist at our most fullest.
This is an entire unfoldment here. Okay, Christina and then Ron, please come in.
Yeah, I was very moved by what was shared in terms of the experience, Wendy's experience. I'm struck by the we space that she was discussing or talking about, and how that has, helped to lift her, and thinking of the wisdom that is in that collective shared space that in my experience doesn't quite happen in that isolated I space. It's that we space, that shared collective we space, where there is so much wisdom that can be integrated and received and shared. It just was quite beautiful.
Ron.
I don't know. I just humbled by other people's experience of pain. I have a kind of difficult time looking at my own experience, which is rather extensive. I really have a hard time talking about it because it's almost as if I can't get out of the present moment in talking about it. It's very difficult. It's like in the present moment, the experience is almost not there. There is a light presence. And it's very hard to describe. If I have to recreate the experiences that I've had where pain was involved, I have to recreate them. And they seem strange in light of the present moment. So it's a little bit hard for me to talk about it in a traditional way. There are strange things that happen. One of the things that was so peculiar in my last hospital admission, the doctors came, they told me, you're doing fine, you're ready to be discharged. You can leave tonight if you want to. This was the 5th procedure of 5 major surgeries. And I was not in pain at that time. They told me I was ready to go. And something inside me felt, I'm not going to discharge myself tonight. I know my family was waiting. I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning. Why? Because there was something inside me that wanted to complete something. I can't explain it any other way. I'm sure this all sounds rather strange. But anyway, over and above all of this, the one thing that became so clear to me during my ongoing journey, interaction with pain, with mortality, with life, whatever, this total experience, is the fact that when I was in the hospital, I felt people's care about me. I felt their love. I actually felt it as an energetic presence. It made a difference. It was almost palpable to me when I knew people cared about me and they thought about me and they wished me well. It was such a real thing. And I just want to relate that to everyone. These are real things we're talking about. The rest of it, I don't know. God's going to have to analyze that.
Oh boy. Well, there's nothing more true that right here, right now. You know, it's hard. You have to bring it all up, right? You have to bring it all back in memory. And of course, it's in the body and the pain in the body, the fear in the body, you know, and the memory, the fear and the pain in the body of it, what has happened, and then the thought fields with that. People say you have thoughts and then you have pain. Sometimes it's just this feeling inside of dread or of fear, and then you say, what's wrong? And then the thoughts really help you. And just ask, what's wrong? And they come in very, very quickly to tell you what's wrong. And I think that's also a big lesson for me. I learned this a lot in the spirit doodling, by the way, because like, if I have fear, and I ask my mind, what's going on, Victoria? Like, you know how you go, what's happening? And then it says, well, you know, what's happened to Ron, and what's happened to your daughter, and what's happening in Vista and all this. And, I mean, right, you get these answers. But if you don't go to the answers, those answers are just thoughts. And then you say, I just stay with the feeling. Because the reason I'm going to my mind is to hear those thoughts and then perhaps negate them or argue with them, you know, saying, well, it's not that bad. And, you know, God will save, and you know, I need to go beyond this and all that. But just to let them be, it's just a big thing. You know why? Because what else can we do? Really, I mean, if you have tried and tried and tried, like for listen, I tried and tried and tried to get out of the water, but I just couldn't seem to do it. So we're trying. So I just feel like it's been such a gift for me to begin to realize and like, kind of discover that I can stay with these things that I can stay with fear and it's there. But you see, when we do that, who is staying with the fear? Who? Like Wendy was saying, the minute we say that, the minute we say, I'm going to stay there, because everything says go away, the mind, the body, the perceptions, the ego, whatever we want to call it, the personality, it doesn't matter the name on it. It wants to go away. And by the way, we can't go away because this is Earth. Welcome to Earth. This is this little planet, and it's a grave planet. A very grave planet, the way I see it now. I mean, there is unbelievably terrible illness. There's unbelievable beauty. There's unbelievable everything here. And, we're just like, if everybody, when we were young, if we came here and they told us, by the way, there's going to be illness here, people are going to die, that means they're going to leave. People are going to have pain from their bodies, like you get appendicitis. What if they told us that from the beginning? And when that happens, it's just what happens. It's just what happens on Earth. You know how you poopy? You just poopy. You can't decide you don't like to poopy or say, I wish I didn't have to poopy. Nobody says that. I mean, you have to poopy, and that's it. And if you don't, it's hard. So everybody is going to have pain. The suffering comes in saying, I'm not supposed to poopy. Why this happened? It smells bad. Why am I doing this? This shouldn't be happening. But it is, that's how I feel now. I just feel like it's happening. And that's all. And there's nothing wrong. Look at the world. And then you can really say, is there something wrong with all the terrible things that are happening in the world? Yeah, it's not great when we have pain, but that's just the way it is. And we can do everything we can to help that. But we don't have to think it's bad. We don't think it's unusual. We don't have to think that it's not normal. We don't have to think there's something wrong. Because like when we went into space, we're okay. Because that awareness to it is always there. Just always there, like we're aware of it. And what if we just decide just to be there? Like this is a really bad day. There's a nice day, there's good weather, there's beautiful days, and then there's storms and what is the big deal? It's just the way it is. Do I want to be on another planet? Yeah. I want to be on the planet where I'm weightless. So I'm just saying that, so I think what everybody's here is just saying the same thing to me, like is being said here. And they say acceptance. It's not acceptance that it's okay to have pain. It's acceptance that it just is. It's like acceptance that I'm 5'2". I am 5'2". And no amount of wishing, trying, helping, manipulating, meditating, contemplating, chanting, eating little, becoming a vegan is going to get me told. No way. Nothing we can do. I'm fine at 5'2". I'm fine if I don't get weird about it. I don't let my mind take over. So that's the thing, like we're all fine because we're not this thing. We're not anybody. We're not anybody. So I just feel like, you just think of that all the time. And even when all of those things are going on, oh, it happens. It's Wendy started with that. It happens, and then, oh, if it's happening, why don't I go be with it? Why don't I go take care of it? Why don't we take care of it? Like a baby's crying in front of us, we don't say, what a jerk. And what's wrong with that baby? No, we take care of it. We go like, oh, this is happening to me, to this body. And we say, not only am I going to just stay with it, but I'm going to say it's okay. It's okay that you're terrible. It's okay that you feel bad. It's okay you feel depressed. It's just okay. That's how I think of it more and more now. Not that I remember all the time, but when I remember, like when something's happening, I just go, oh my, this is an opportunity to go there. Right? That's the other thing. We missed half of our life. I missed half of my life. I missed so much of my life because I didn't go there. I just tried to run away from it. So I missed it. It's like missing the bad parts in a movie. You just see the romance that you don't see when they get miserable and when they come back. You just constantly want to see them happy all the time, and there's no movie, and it's just bad. You miss the whole movie. don't understand what's happening. So that's all I think of it. Robert, want to bring your poem back?
If you want me to. But just a quick observation that you were back me. The most content one of the moments that I was the most content and felt just totally there was when I was being wheeled into a surgery room for quadruple bypass surgery. I felt so there and so content and so in the moment. I can't say I was happy or wasn't scared, but it was just there. And it was like going, okay, here I am. I'm happy to bring the poem back if people would like me to. It's
Victoria, Jordan had his hand up. Am I
Oh,
right?
yes, Jordan, I'm sorry. Let's go, Jordan.
And go back, maybe Robert will continue.
That, by the way, that was really amazing because I tell Ron, you're always happy when you're going into an operation. Can you be happy when you feel fine?
Yeah, I know that experience so well. It's very strange, but that's what it is at that time. It's amazing.
Fall into it. Yes, Jordan.
So what came up for me with these sharings is that saying of two ships passing in the night. Because you have someone who's in pain, right? And then you have those around them that are going through whatever they're going through, dealing with a painful situation. And that image struck me as you can go through that experience, right? You cannot be with that person. You cannot love them or show compassion or understanding. And I think, and that sounds harsh, but sometimes that the reaction is to pull back and not give of yourself. And I just think of how, and that caretaker role is to understand that, yes, this is happening to me as well, but I need to be aware of the space between us.
Yeah, that's what I meant by losing half of my life. Like, I think I know when Ron was in the hospital after a heart attack, the doctors, because he's a doctor and they all knew him, they'd like peek through the door and they'd say, "Hi, Ron." They were so afraid because they had never faced it, and everybody's afraid. That's why if we stay with our own things, like me, if I stay with my own, things that drag me down into gravity, into the grave, drag me down. If I just stay with them, I build the resilience to be with other people's. Because otherwise, how can we stay with somebody else's if we haven't gone through our own? Have to find out how that feels to be really scared, and then, when you're with other people that are going through something, you don't have to back off as you have to if you haven't built that skill. It's sort of like going into space. They have to train a lot to go into that space, So you have to be able to take weightlessness in the middle of gravity. Where you have to. So how do you do that and feel? I just, again, as I said, I miss so much my life that when people call me and they have something that's going on for them that's really difficult, I'm like, thank you, because I can enter into it, again. So, just staying with those things, again, you have to kind of have some sense that we are that space. Our awareness is that space. But when you say, I'm going to take care of it, it's not the person who's afraid. Somebody once called my teacher that I studied with, Charlie, and he said, person said, I'm going to commit suicide. So it's really a serious thing. And I think it was that and Charlie said, I want to talk to the person who dialed 8 numbers, who picked up the phone and dialed 8 numbers. I want to talk to that being, that wherewithal that did that. You can just, okay, you may want to do that, because that's a thought field. So anyway, just very, very important situation. Robert. Oh, Anne Marie, listen. Well, should we go to how we do Anne Marie, and then should we do Robert? Do you want to do your poem, or do you feel you just want to say something? You know, Ron, did you want to do another poem or something in here?
No. If Robert or Anne Marie have something that would like to, I mean, I have a very short comment at the end.
Yeah, sure.
Are we at the end? I mean, I'd like to hear also what Robert and Anne Marie have to say.
Okay, so Robert, go ahead, and then Anne Marie, and then we'll close up with Ron. Robert disappeared.
No, it's my iPad. No, I'd be happy to if that's what you'd like me to do. Otherwise, I'm fine. Just saying it's how wonderful it is to share this time with you.
So great to have you. Always.
Oh, so he's not doing the poem. Okay.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, do the poem.
Okay. You would like me to do the same one over again? I think you said.
Yeah. Poems
Okay.
you've done a million times.
Sure. Okay. Bright light waiting, circling his head. Can see right through them at the play of light and shadow at their center. The case for the opposition. A dark figure staring out. Electric words turning into light, falling on the ground. It's massive, bulk, flat against plastic and glass. Two chairs behind it looking like wings, not for flying, but the disturbing of air and light, stopping them from flowing as it settles stale against the walls, floor, and ceiling. The case for the defense, living memory, made up at each moment as each moment passes, becoming history lessons to be placed against the wall and shot. Bright figures still circling around his head, reaching out to the crown or a shoulder, waiting to light.
That sounds different now.
Well, I find each time I read a poem, it's different.
Yeah. Anne Marie.
So I wanted to bring it all around with beyond gravity, because what I had heard with the descriptions from Wendy and Ron especially, what brought them beyond the gravity of the present moment, of the heaviness, density of the physical pain, was the beyondness was connectivity, the oneness that we all are, the energetic love that Ron felt, the energy of his feeling. That's what we're talking about. That's beyond gravity. And as Thich Nhat Hanh states, for compassion is not possible without pain and suffering. So we should not imagine a place where there is no suffering, where there is only happiness. That would be a very naive idea.
Okay, Ron.
Going back to gravity. We said the physics and metaphysics of beyond gravity. And gravity, of course, is the pull of everything towards itself. I think of Rumi's poem, let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you really love. And gravity is a manifestation of the universe's love for everything in it and itself. It is always trying to pull itself together. And I think the universe is always trying to teach us about ourselves, and it's using symbolism poetry, quantum physics, to approach the ultimate realization. And it can't help but use everything as a symbol of that final desire to include us as itself. And so gravity is such a beautiful statement of the universe trying to entangle us all as itself, as one. So, gravity.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. This beautiful, beautiful call. Really beautiful. I'm going to watch it. I'll put it up on Facebook on our page if you want to see it. There were so many beautiful things that you all said, just really moving. Very moving. Let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you really love, Rumi. And I think that's an anti-gravity device.
Rumi.
Okay. Okay, see you, hear you in the morning. Hear your ping in the morning. Robert, we have a readitation group that reads every day or whenever they want to. But and it's a text group and people ping like when they're starting. So it's like a little connection if you need a kind of a connection in terms of discipline, but also there's a lot more in it of just knowing other people are reading and supporting the field and being. Anyway, if you're interested, I can let you know. You're an honorary member. And I think you and Ron should do a poetry event all on your own. I'd be happy to support that. I think we all would. I'd love to hear all those poems. Yeah, in a dramatic context. Okay.
Thank you, Victoria and Ron, for
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Enjoyed.
bringing us together.
Thank you, everyone.
The entangled thought.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.